Hello and welcome back to Brubacher Beyond podcast, where we are shaping the world we live in so more people can find the construction industry uncommonly refreshing. I would like to welcome our guest today to the Brubacher and Beyond podcast. We have Flagger Force with us today. We have two representatives with them, Adam and Scott. Adam, if you would like to go first and tell us a little bit about you and your background, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, absolutely. I'm Adam. I've been with Flagger Force for 10 years. I've worked my way throughout the field as a traffic flagger in our crew leading position, setting up job sites. Made my way into the corporate office, and I'm now the Northeast Safety Supervisor.
Awesome. And Scott, would you like to introduce yourself too?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Scott Richwine. I've been with Flagger Force for 12 years this past May. I've been the safety manager for about the past 5, and about 9 of the 12 years spent within the safety department. And like Adam, I started out as a crew member and worked my way through our ranks of crew member, crew leader, advanced crew leader, and we have special equipment operator for like our TMAs and stake bodies. And then I started in safety as one of 3 safety individuals when we started off as an advocate. Now we're up to a team of about 12 or 13 within safety.
And Flagger Force has gone through a lot of growth, I would say, right, in the industry in the past. How big are you guys now, and what kind of territory do you cover?
So we've been a company since about 2002. It's pretty crazy. We started out of the owner's garage with a couple of pickup trucks and a few employees. Now we're about 2,000 employees large. We service the East Coast from Pennsylvania south. We're starting to encroach a little bit into the Western territory, but we have quite a wide footprint now.
So Pennsylvania to Florida, I'm taking that?
Yeah, that's correct.
And then how west? Is it just those East Coast states, or?
So we currently work in Georgia right now,
Okay.
and we're looking into a few other states as we speak. So,
And where is this demand coming from?
to me, there's a need for roadway safety. We service a lot of underground and overhead utilities, so it's a lot of infrastructure, and that includes excavating and paving. And a lot of that involves, roadway encroachment. So there's a lot of traveling public and human bodies being on the roadway that need protection.
And Scott, you talked about it like you went through the ranks. If I'm someone outside of Flagger Force and I'm interested in becoming an employee there and I start at the ground level, what's the steps? Like, can you walk me through the different positions in your company?
Sure, yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. And I think when I started with Flagger Force, it's something I really respected, that we go above and beyond to get all of our folks trained versus what like the state standards would be. So when you start as a crew member, you would work with us for 30 days. And we provide a journal and some materials and expectations that we would like them to learn within those first 30 days. And then they would come back to a class called crew member development training. And that's where we really then sit with the individuals and find out, what their roadmap looks like, where they see themselves being in the long term. And then we work with them to get them there. A lot of folks like to work their way to advanced crew leader. So with that would take about 8 days of training, probably a solid 3 to 6 months with the company of just really work, training and working focused towards that. And then we have options that they could branch off to, such as lead instructors. We implemented hands-on training a few years ago. So we have field trainers now that would go out on the road with them and kind of show them how to put, the book on the road. So yeah, the first 30 days, just really working with them to see what they, like about the industry. It's really hard, right, to show them like unpractical what it's like to be a traffic control individual. We spend the first 30 days really working with them and seeing where they see themselves in the long term.
Gotcha. So it's someone on a crew, then a crew leader. Can you go through your steps with the company? What was your path?
Sure, yeah. So I started out as a crew member. At the time when I started, we didn't have any criteria. So I was a crew member. I didn't really have much interest in promoting. So I spent about 3 months in that role. And then I promoted to crew member or crew leader. And then we really have a raise your hand culture within Flagger Force. So once I promoted to crew leader, it was pretty hard for me to put my hand down, and I wanted to see how far I could go. So I promoted to advanced crew leader. That's a lot of our highway operations, our lane closures, a little more complex setups. And then I promoted to the special equipment operator, driving our larger vehicles such as TMAs and stake bodies.
Yeah, and the relationship between Brubacher and Flagger Force, we hire your company as a subcontractor for us for all those things you guys just talked about. You've been on multiple jobs with us. I think there's a good working relationship there. And really that's what it is, right? It's that working relationship. How can companies help each other to prosper and grow? Adam, can you take me through like what's the steps if I'm a company and I've never hired Flagger Force before as a subcontractor? Like, how does that work? How do you show up? If you could just, I know that's a big question, but if you could just walk us through the
Well,
steps
so
here.
yeah, so that's a good question. So we've made a lot of steps over the last few years to make it really easy for new clients to hire us. We have a call center now that they can call into. We have a lot of, I guess, resources you could say that would help somebody that's never worked with Flagger Force kind of understand what we do and the expectations that a contractor could have for us, so to speak. So theoretically, what they would do is call into Flagger Force and or call center. We have a good team of experts in there that we just ask kind of what you need as a contractor, and then we provide the equipment and the personnel to you in that way. So then you would receive an order confirmation. We would show up on the job site, and then our field staff, which would be a mix of crew members, crew leaders, and advanced crew leaders, depending on what you would need. And we'd have a pre-job brief with you and really determine, like the kind of setup that we would need to do out there. It's really a big collaboration between our field staff and you working out there doing your work.
Gotcha. So in 2002, Flagger Force was started because they saw a need in the industry, right? But let's go back to 1982, right? Was Flagger Force or flagging a big obstacle in the industry, or what really is driving, the growth of your company?
So to me, I can speak at least on from what I see. So if we go back to 1982, roadway statistics for fatalities out on the road were, astronomically high. And I think as time has progressed, really preservation of life is the need for temporary traffic control in general. So, and it took us a while. There was a stigma with flaggers, oh, you're just a flagger, you're just controlling traffic, you're just turning a paddle. And I think we've turned a really sharp corner to where the people that we work with and the traveling public really view us as we're keeping people safe. We are preserving life out there, and the stigma is all but gone, in my opinion.
Yeah. So what's the difference between like your setup, if you guys can go into it, on let's say a turnpike project to a local utilities water line project? Is it the same team members going out there, or what's the difference in the complications to those projects?
So for something like the turnpike, that's what we would consider freeway expressway. And to be able to plan and establish those types of setups, you really need specialized training. So, like Scott mentioned, the special equipment operator certification, that would be something that you would have to have essentially to operate a job site in that way. Whereas, far as a local utility working on a two-lane, two-way development road, so a flagging operation, it's not quite as in depth when it comes to their training level. But there's hazards to each area, but considerably higher on a freeway and expressway operation just due to the speed of traffic. So there's definitely a lot more care and consideration when it comes to safety and a lot more awareness that goes on those higher risk operations. And that's all things that we cover in our training and things that we expect of our people.
So how are the traffic, if I don't know anything about construction industry and I'm listening, so how are these traffic patterns put together, or how do you guys know where to sort people or where to divert them to? Is it an expectation that's already in a handbook, or do you guys develop the plan yourself?
So I'll take this one. I'll let Scott jump in here if he has anything additional. But we do have a federal standard called the MUTCD, and that's where all of our typical drawings are, kind of roadway types and how we're supposed to set up.
Okay.
And likewise, there's state standards which we follow that meet or exceed those federal standards. So, for example, in the state of Pennsylvania, we use the publication 213. That's PennDOT's manual on traffic control. And that really goes above and beyond even the federal standards. And then we have our own best practices as well. So we even meet or exceed some of the state standards, when it comes to setting up a job site out there.
Okay. And then, I mean, we see it all the time. I mean, sometimes we're just so busy. I mean, I think that we, on smaller jobs, will utilize our own in-house people, or if it's maybe a couple hours. But what are the advantages of subcontracting out these services instead of doing them in-house?
Scott, I'll let you take this one. You
Yeah, I
explained
can
this
take
one really
one
well.
things I find really interesting with it. And when I look back on the industry, you guys were talking about it earlier. I know that flagging was kind of a secondary function, it seemed like, of somebody's primary job. We would see it a lot in the field. You know, if it's underground, it might be the individual that's a laborer that would be performing the traffic control after it's established. And when I think of a couple examples of where it can be beneficial to subcontract it out, I was on a job site recently and there was a lot of just peace of mind that I noticed from the individuals that were performing the work. If you really think about the human mind, we're not really built to multitask. So I liked being able to watch contractors just really focus on task at hand because it's not simple work, whether it's underground or overhead. There's a lot of hazards in that function as well. And we kind of provide peace of mind of traffic, as Adam mentioned, setting up to the state standards. So we'd make sure that we're using the most advanced traffic patterns that are available to us on the road to provide a safe working environment. And then lastly, where I think an advantage of it is to subcontract it out to traffic control companies is when you look at our publications, they show you a picture of what it should look like, and there's footage of where your signs should be, and how long your cone pattern should be, and how many cones you should have on the road. But what the MUTCD and the state standards are really missing is how you get those devices on the road, how do you deploy the signs, and how you complete the whole operation leading up to the beautiful work zone that's out there. And I kind of think of it as if we would just hand an electrical utility worker a picture of a transformer on the pole and not give them any directions on how to get it there. It's really something that we focused a lot of our time and energy on, training our people to watch each other's backs. We just have one person installing the signs and the cones while we have a spotter. It's a really dangerous part of the operation as well. And then we just have, follow our best practices, even for monitoring the work zones after everything's set up. Then you start battling mindsets because you get complacent. It could be seen as a boring operation. So we shifted some of our internal language from a passive job over to active monitoring. So we kind of enforce that there's still a need to monitor traffic and alert the clients of any potential work zone intrusions or things that are happening that they may be unaware of, and helps us fight complacency and a lot of the kind of undocumented hazards and issues that you encounter with traffic control.
So, I mean, this is an industry because there is danger. When is the most dangerous part of the setup or the removal of the equipment, or during, or when is that?
Yeah, I would say it's our setup and tear down. So the roadwork sign, I think itself is the most crucial. So that's the first sign that a motorist will encounter when entering a work zone. And it's also a sign that has to be established with no advanced warning prior to that. So we use our vehicle with the amber lights and four ways, but outside of that, when we're installing the roadwork sign, that's the first time the traffic is going to encounter us. So best practice we have, we don't set up in any blind turns. We try to find, a decent line of sight to really start the operation so we can give the motorists their best chance of slowing down or, doing what they need to do to avoid us. And then, if we have to stop traffic or pull off the road or pull into a parking lot, we look for those opportunities. But set up and tear down of the advanced warning signage would be the most dangerous part of it.
And so with this industry or this company being in business for 20 years, it definitely went through a growth spurt, and the industry has changed in the past 20 years. What new innovations are coming out that are going to revolutionize the industry, or what are your thoughts there?
The technology is really becoming interesting and really fun to work with. So something I really appreciate with Flagger Force is we do a lot of partnering up, and we try to stay in tune with different trade shows and events to learn and stay on top of the most recent technology. There's two things out right now that really have my attention. So there's companies working with some of the GPS services to alert, and there's technology such as when we flip the switch to turn our amber lights on, there's technology that could pair with that switch that when it's on, it'll alert something such as Waze to say that there's an active work zone on the road. And the GPS itself then would work to see if there's a reasonable detour to prevent traffic from even needing to encounter us. Then there's another piece that I find a lot of value to for our contractors that we work for. So obviously we can't prevent every work zone intrusion. We do our best to set up and alert traffic, but with cell phones and different things, there could be a work zone intrusion. That's why we have buffer space and some things kind of built into it. And there are companies developing a device that would sit on usually the first cone within the buffer. And depending on the speed of the car that passes, it'll alert a little device that straps on your vest to let you know that a vehicle is driving through the work zone faster than we would like it to. And you can set that speed up so you're not, getting white noise. But I find a lot of value in that because that's, instant alert to somebody traveling a little faster through the work zone than we'd like them to.
I'll agree with Scott there too. I mean, it's been interesting, at least in my last, 10 years here. Only recently in the last maybe 4 or 5, I think we're starting to see technology advance to create safer situations. I'll go back to referencing what I was saying earlier that, people are starting to come around and they're starting to realize that this is an important industry, and it's really interesting to see this technology develop. There's technology that we test out and maybe it's not quite where we need it to be, but, in a couple of years, we revisit, and it's really interesting to see all the stuff that's coming out right now.
Yeah, that's the thing with technology. The first step might not be the game changer, right? But it's that second or third step, but you got to get through those to get to that. That's pretty interesting. So you're hitting your switch for your amber light, and then that'll notify, like you said, Waze or whatever other GPS, start diverting that volume of traffic somewhere else. That's pretty cool stuff there. I mean, you guys have in 2,000 employees. How do you guys stay connected as a company? Like, that's a lot of growth. That's a lot of people. How do you guys handle that?
So we have local safety professionals in every market, a lot of field supervision that can be there as a support to the employees face to face. But one of the coolest technology innovations that we've implemented in the last couple of years is called In the Zone, but it's partnered with Beekeeper. I guess to explain it the best I could, it's like Facebook, but for your employees. So it's a digital platform where we can all stay connected. We can share safety messages. We can do trainings and micro learnings, short digital lessons that really boost the knowledge of our field employees. That's probably the biggest way that we stay connected is through that online phone platform.
Nice. So if an outside company wants to connect with you guys, are you on LinkedIn? What other means or methods how can I contact you?
Yes, we do. LinkedIn. We have Facebook pages. The best way to contact us is just flaggerforce.com. We do have a website that shows a lot of things that we offer, such as pre-cons and traffic control plans and some of the things that we're able to offer even if our flagging services are not needed. And it'll put you into the right hands of our business development team that could help with any needs, whether it be setting up a new contract or reaching out because you know the roadway that you're going to be working on, but not real sure what may be needed. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. Once you make it to our BD team, they'll point you in the right direction.
Nice. Flaggerforce.com. You can go online and then find out how to reach out to you guys. Well, hey, I want to express my gratitude for keeping our team members safe when you guys are out there, or your people are keeping us safe as possible. We really appreciate it. And with that, I think that we'll wrap this session up of the Brubacher and Beyond podcast. So thank you again.
Thanks for having us.
I appreciate you for having us as well.
Yeah, no time. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Brubacher podcast today. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our podcast so you can listen to the new episodes each month. Share it with your friends in the industry and those who might like to learn more about the construction industry. Feel free to check out our website at www.brubacher.net. I'm Keith Brubacher, president of Brubacher Excavating Incorporated, and we hope you found our discussion insightful, and we look forward to the next time together.